drummer extraordinaire, Dwayne Gramps Parkinson, is with us in studios today. Stay tuned. Dwayne, welcome to the Music Hacks Network.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me indeed.
Thursday night's presentation on Zoom was well done. Congratulations.
Yeah, that was something else. Indeed, that was definitely something else. You know?
The rest of them was I got a feedback from them and they were very excited to see you doing that presentation.
Wow, wow. I really feel motivated hearing that, you know? I really feel motivated hearing that, indeed.
I am wondering, where did you learn to do presentations like that?
I mean, to be honest, learning to do presentations like that, I think it started from church where you are thrown into the spotlight to do certain things, right? Whether to exhort or do things like that. And so if most persons can be truthful, the best place to learn these things, and to learn a lot about yourself is church. And apart from church, of course, you have school, going to school. But uh, doing presentations is something that I love. I love to share stuff. So I enjoy sharing public speaking, things like that. I really enjoy doing things like that. Even right now, I'm trying to even say, boy, I want to pursue a speaking certificate, right? Just to enhance my level of presentation skills, which I really embrace a lot, you know.
So it seems that you have quite an active life out of music.
Yes, man, busy, very busy one too at times, you know, um, very involved. Let me use the word involved, very
Uh,
involved.
awesome. So what are some
Yeah.
of the other things that you are involved in apart from music?
Apart from music, all right, I'm a guidance counselor by profession. Yes, I am a guidance counselor. I also um I'm involved in things like especially at church, where church is concerned. I am youth president currently for my church. I'm also the band leader for my church music department. Um, I am a part of the men's ministry where I do mentorship for young men. Um, Part of the Sunday school department, a whole lot of them, So I am well rounded, well involved, as I said before. So very I'm taking up with a lot of things in and around that. So I love things like being advocate for young people, looking out for young people, and trying to inspire them and to mentor them. So I'm in that area also.
Okay. How long have you been a Christian?
Being a Christian about roughly, they say going over 20 years now. Could look at that, you know. So I am, yeah, born and grew in church, and so forth. So church has been my lifestyle. It's not like probably you weren't growing in a way that probably you'll find yourself, out there understanding what is out there yet. But my strong foundation, I would say, it started, church wise, you know, being a Christian woman, relatives and everybody around me were mostly Christians, you find, you know.
Awesome. So church is where you first discovered music.
Yes, in truth and in fact, church. And to put a even stronger note on it is my father. Many persons didn't know that my father actually is the one who have came and saw playing drums. So based on recollection, he would say, while I was in the belly or the womb, yeah, he would experience moments like that when where music is playing, and my mom would even testify of that. Say, boy, she will feel me kicking to the tempo or the beat of what is going on. Oh yeah. So they recognize that there's something different about this little, boy who is yet to come. So that was where it started. So my father actually was one of the major first influence of, you know, taking on music and especially drums because he was actually one of the first drummers from my church back then growing up, you know. So that's where it started
Awesome.
with
Um,
music.
which other instruments did you learn in church at that time?
Why? Um, I let me say I did not learn any other, but because for me right now the drums is really the main instrument that I focus on. But I'm a lover for bass. I'm a lover of the bass guitar. So I will find myself studying a lot of bass players. That is one of my goals that I want to achieve, you know, playing the bass. Because I can listen to a bass player and know when he's doing foolishness and when he is doing the right thing. I don't know how that. I think that's why I said that probably this is a gift also, apart from having the influence of my father. But I believe it is a gift straight from the Almighty, from God Himself, where basically I can be able to understand and know music like that. That I might not know the theory or those steps of it of playing the bass, but in terms of the sound and the hearing of where to go, when not to make that move, I can tell my bass player. So even while at church playing, being the band leader and basically being the MD then for the band, directing them where to go, where not to go, what pass to make, what syncopation to, what to hold a 5-1 or stuff like that, at the end of the music or whatever. I can able to call those things and say those things, you know. But the bass, yes, is one of my favorite second instruments. So that is one that I really enjoy listening to, a lot.
Cool. Bass and drum.
Mm. Bass and drums, strictly
Yes,
bass and drum. I find that most time drummers tend to lean to the bass and bass players tend to lean to the drum. I realize most of the time there's this connection. I be you being a bass player, I mean you could testify about it. I attest to the fact that there's some level of connection between the two disciplines, bass and drum.
yes, that's very true.
Yes, man.
Um, you mentioned that you started out at a very tender age.
Yes,
Who were some of the persons who influenced you, apart from your father? Who were some of the
yes.
other musicians who influenced you at that age?
All right. At that age, all right, coming up, I would have the likes of Kurt Clark around me. Cause Kurt Clark was originally from my church here in Ocho Bethel Tabernacle. It's a UPC Pentecost church, right? It's in James Avenue, 29 James Avenue. So you can come by if anybody, just using opportunity. If you can come by when you can, 29 James Avenue in Ocho. So that's where I will grow up amongst the likes of Corey Clark, um, this guitar player by likes of Junior Stewart. He used to play with Monte Alexander. Used to tour third world. So before those men would have left the church, I would have gotten the opportunity, that golden opportunity, I would say, to be among some of the best of Jamaica's musicians who are out there touring. Um, Another one who is now he's also a big producer. He used to produce for Sean Kingston. He was at those young men were at church. The likes of most of C Sharp bandmates like RD and Francis. We call him Bingy. And for those who are in the musician world, they will know about Bingy. RD used to play for C Sharp. He's the first drummer for C Sharp band. And you have Yaka Bass, who is called Ian Eyelet. So I grew up amongst those giants of musicians and listening to them. So it kind of built my mentality of understanding music and where I would want to reach, what sound I would want to develop. Yeah, but in terms of specifying to drums, RD and Francis, which we call Bingy, as I said before, is that person who would have influenced my shape of playing drums, you know, from those early age. What I used to do back then, growing up, I used to practice a lot on my bed. This is very interesting. I used to practice a lot on my bed, And I used to use the symbols. At that time where I was living, the windows were that metal type of windows. I don't know if you remember the metal window, eh? Those
Yes.
metal windows. Those in Jamaica, of course, the ladder start I'm talking about. Those metal windows. So in the scheme, it's in a scheme setting. So the scheme house is normally have the metal windows. So I used to use the metal windows as my symbol. The bed head was also another part of symbol. I used the pillows to set up as my thumb, and the main base of the bed will be my snare. And of course, I'll put on a church shoes, for the kick to give that effect. So I will be practicing doubles and those things using that I have. So the soul that you are hearing now is actually birth from those humbling experience. And if I should tell some persons when I got a drum set, they would never believe me when I got a drum set. So all my years playing when persons are hearing about Gramps and say, boy, Gramps, I was using my bed as my tool of practice. Alright. So I didn't have the luxury of having a drum set like some persons. So I used to do going back to the point, I used to do tapes. That time we have cassette, yeah. So we used to record myself. Daddy used to record it and he used to carry it to church. I remember I did a Latin beat. Cause then again I was introduced to the likes of Dave Wickle, right? Those videos and cassettes that Dave Wickle used to send us. So I used to get exposed to those things in terms of rudiments and all of that. And the likes of Dennis Chambers, Tony Rice, Steve God, Simon Phillips, all those greats that are out there, who are great teachers. So I start to understand the level of independence and how to approach applications of these things on the jump. So I will do this recording that time Court now and those guys and Bingy and all of those guys used to come down church probably after a month they will get holiday from Edna because they were going to Edna. So I will get the opportunity to go by church now and say, hey guys, listen to this. I am that time a little I'm gonna reach level 9 thereabout, yeah. And share those things. I was understanding how to play a Latin samba beats, things like that, which I grew to be a fan of. And enough a lot of person didn't know that even Kurt is good at drum. Trust me. He's a he's a madman when it comes down to drum. So he used to basically critique these things and you tell, and then Bingy Ardeen, which is an exceptional drummer, used to show me the ropes of how to apply the rudiments and things like that, you know. So then,
Oh,
all of that started.
okay. So it seems that you have get a lot of experience from many other instruments, not only the
Yes,
drum.
yes, yes, trust me.
Would you say that has contributed to your the creative style that you have?
I think so, Sir Chris. To be honest, I strongly believe that it would have influenced my approach because um I love music. When I say I love music, I embrace it is a part of me. Without it, I think I would be a madman by now. That's how serious I look at it. I think I would be. It is therapeutic for me. You understand? Very therapeutic. When I'm in that zone of music, hearing different instruments, hear how persons express themselves. I love true musicianship when a man can deal with him thing, when he can play a keyboard, whatever instrument is, and even the very trumpet, the xylophone, things like that. I listen to weird stuff, so it influences how I approach my drumming as a musician, as a drummer. Um, you know, even just by I was saying even the other night, even just by chewing a gum, and walking in the beat of it. Things like that I used to fool around. It used to be amazing to me just walking, chewing my gum and creating a little a beat. So things
Okay.
like that. So that's how wide I go when it comes down to music. So of course, definitely other instruments would have impacted my musicianship.
Okay, Dwayne, you have mentioned some of those persons who influenced you during your younger days. Currently, who are
Yeah.
some of the newer drummers that you are paying attention to, who you are following?
All right. First and foremost, Calvin Rogers is one of my greatest influences, especially currently now. because of his approach, his preciseness, his precision, which I really respect and appreciate. He would have started out even when I was younger too, also in terms of the first album that I heard him on, which is Not Guilty by John P. Key. Sir John P. Key is another greatest of all time, trust me. So in terms of the gospel feel and my some of my expressions now is influenced by Calvin. Apart from Calvin, you have Ladell Abrams used to tour with CC Wine and toured with I think he's toured with Charlie Wilson now. Also used to play for John P. too. He's another great sensation. You have the likes of Joel Smith who died the other day. I used to tour with the Hawkins. Um, you have also Thomas like of course Tony Rice, Devon Sticks Smith, Kieran Sticks Smith is another one. You have the likes of Tony Taylor, Varro, the Poindexter brothers, Clemens Poindexter, Jeremy Poindexter, um, Josiah Maddox, those guys, some crazy guys. So, and the list goes on. I could write a whole couple pages of drummers that you would have finished now. That really influences my line of play. Chris Coleman, of course. So, oh, God, another giant of drummers that I really admire and take on to. Yep. Just to name a few, So,
Okay, that's
yeah,
just a few of them.
just few.
All right. Um, this is what I want to ask you, Dwayne.
Yeah,
I'm sure all the persons who are watching this interview now or who will watch this interview in the future
yeah.
will agree with me that you have impeccable timing. Watching
Oh,
you, I don't know how you manage to do all those fills,
yeah.
those unorthodox fills, if that's the right term to describe it. How do you do those fills and yet you still keep your place in the timing?
Okay, very. I'm glad you asked that question. And it's something I love to explain. All right, when it comes down to that approach, um, first thing, as I was sharing even in a presentation the other day, is understanding my purpose. What is my purpose in the band, playing in the band as the drummer? And as I will normally say this, which is a principle I apply. I am like the pulse of the band. I am the heartbeat that is pumping the blood across the band. So whatever I do, I basically am controlling the momentum of everybody, the vibe, the feel, everything. So I have that power to change all of that. Understand by how I'm playing. So, for example, if I'm playing now and before going into all of that, what I normally do, this is something that I do, all right, and this is from church too. And if you check it, most drummers, all these musicians out there, this church thing really start from church. Everything started from, and what I did is to basically to have, all right, be simple as much as possible, trying to be simple at what I do. So I will ensure that the main focus and foundation of the time is loving to groove is very important. So I ensure that I build that level of groove. So I will enjoy having persons dancing or swaying into that groove. Whatever groove, whether it be slow, up tempo, whatever, just having them moving into that groove. And what happens now, once you let that soak for a bit, all right, soak for a bit, then I have that time when becoming spontaneous, I do these little crazy stuff that comes in my mind. And those stuff that comes out in my mind is because I'm not thinking like an ordinary one, two, whatever. I'm trying to find places. And then where I place them, it sounds so fulfilling and so fat. Then when you play them in those spaces, that is spontaneous. And then now I am playing them in those spaces that are needed again because it's either it's going to be a place to introduce a part of the song and to say that the chorus is coming or the verse is coming or whatever. So whatever I use that opportunity just by how I play those fills to be precise and to ensure that when I execute them, it is well felt. So by maintaining that level of dominance or the foundation of the solidness of the music, ensuring that the foundation of is there, you know, simple and effective. Then after that, now you find that you can do all these things, and it just added like a icing on the cake, then, you know, and it brings across that effect.
Okay, so the practicing of rudiments, regular practice of
Yeah.
rudiments, do you think that will contribute to becoming very competent in executing these fills,
Yes.
these fast fills?
Yes. Practicing, very important. Practicing, and also getting your mind, because you see the mind, Sir Chris, the mind is very powerful. And being in that field where I deal with a lot of mind situation, being a guy that coach, I recognize how powerful the mind is. No, it is said that the body manifests what the mind harbors. You know what I mean? And if Paul can go back to Acts, to Romans in chapter 12, where he say, you beseech your brethren by the mercy of God, present your bodies a living sacrifice, and be not transformed, conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. So what is a reason? A reason. If you can transform your mind, this is how practical I try to be. Transform your mind to that point where listen, you adapt yourself to these principles. So by listening to certain things, so the likes of listening to Spunky McCurdy, which is another influential person, used to play for Ty Tribute, used to play for Lady Gaga, Jill Scott, all these great people. Listening Spunky playing for Jill Scott on a set and how he approaches the music was one of the most powerful things. And you recognize that just how he approaches the music is very unusual, but yet it is so fulfilling and simple and nice. But yes, it can become so complex at the same time. So I try to use all the touches of these persons now, practicing the rudiments like the simple single strokes, double strokes, paradiddles, not just starting them normal, just average. So you'll find me probably starting some of these skills probably in the bell of the cymbal. I mean, so I will start in the bell of the cymbal, all right, and the one or something. I've started in those places instead of starting on one, two. So you're not gonna find me started there. So I'm going to start it out of those places, in those little places, in those little spaces, in spaces, and use them up so that when I finish now, basically maintain the fact of coming in under one, which is also a principle. So practicing that also to add helps with listening and playing along with tracks. So if the metronome, if you don't have a metronome, you can play along with CDs, with albums, tracks that are playing. You play along with them and you catch the feel of song. So first, don't try to focus on the feels, but try to catch the basic or the groove of the song. You understand? And make sure say, boy, you are in sync with it. You understand? To the point where you understand what is expected and then you know how to execute your feels and those things that you want to do. Of course, practicing is very important because practicing until you can develop that level of speed where you can execute those things in those short space of time. In a short space or a little slot that you get, you can just by you practicing, speed helps with that. So you can put a whole lot of things in that little space because of speed. Understand? So and then we do you come right back on the one. And it's nice, it's just short and precise. Zoom, done. Understand? So it comes over a period of time, by you developing yourself, maturing and understanding what is expected of you.
How would you describe your style of play in terms of genre?
Um,
What do you play mostly?
I would say, all right. For me, I would play a lot of contemporary. So, for example, seeing that I'm mostly in the gospel field, but it still doesn't limit me from being able to play the different genres. Of course, gospel is not a genre really, right? It is not. So I try to embrace the different genres, whether it be jazz, hip hop, R&B, all those different genres, as a musician, and make develop that energy, that sound from all those things that I know and that I listen to create that sound that I have. So I will mostly say I'm more a few on the fusion side. I tend to fuse all of these genres together to get that sound, to get that effect. So my style of playing is influenced by fusion of these different genres. Right. So you get a more I really embrace the black contemporary type of feel. I'm more because based on even where my church is, especially it is more surrounded that. But as I said, because I don't want anybody I know drummers or musicians get it twisted. Don't limit yourself from not learning other genres. Because I realize that most persons can only play black, and if you put them on a reggae, which is our culture, we can't manage it. So what I try to do, and I learn these things from Eva, the same Kurt Clark and those, giants of musician. And didn't get confused with the fact of learning just focusing on the gospel. So I try to learn all genres that basically I can be a musician, a well-rounded musician. That if I am called to play a song that is in a reggae or that is in a R&B field. So if I get a wedding call, yeah, do a wedding gig, I must be able to function at that wedding effectively, right? Where they call for Motown feel, call for those R&B feels. So playing R&B versus in church is different. Yeah, it's very different. So I have to ensure that I understand those um specifics and important and the purpose of the music.
Okay.
Yeah, man.
Um, so in terms of practice, I would like to
Yeah.
hear what is your practice routine like?
All right. You'll be very surprised. So listen, let me start off by saying this. I actually got my first drum set around 2000 and let me see 2000 and 2014, 2015. That's when I got my first drum set. Yes, so how many persons do believe that? So all I was practicing and most of the time is my bed. Messy surfaces like pillows, cushions and towels, things like that. I mean mother accept them, they mash up whole for mattress. I mean, so those are things. And what I did is to practice along with these. So as I said, I will normally get tapes of the likes of Dave Wickle, of tapes of Steve Gadd, which is a great um teacher and rudimental drummer. The likes of Simon Phillips also. So I have these guys that I listen to. Steve Smith is another great drummer. So I listen to these guys. So what I do, I put in the tapes of these guys, and I will use very heavy sticks. So my sticks that I practice with compared to what I play with is actually different. So my sticks that I practice with are like the marching band sticks. They are very big and heavy. So those are the sticks that I use. So what I do with that now is helps to build the muscle. Seeing that I didn't have a drum set, watch this. And probably some young drummers out there could learn from it. I practice using the bed. So them time they may not even have a pad, a practice pad. I understand. I think long after I got a practice pad, which was about the size of my hand, the smallest one. And I use that wisely and use it to practice on the messy surfaces like the pillows and the towels and the soft surfaces that has no rebound. So what happened now with the size of the stick so big to get the rebound out of a pillow, say that hard. So that is going to be difficult. So it's actually going to build the strength in your fingers, right? The fingers, these three fingers down here, which is going to be at the tip of the drumstick, basically to build the techniques in them in terms of how fast, how slow, and the precision in executing those rudimental patterns. So I will use rudiments such as single strokes, you know, warming up with single strokes, double strokes, paradiddles, different paradiddles, triplets. Um, and then what I do, I fuse them and use that in the entire time of practicing. So even my hours of practice, I when I was much younger, what I do when I coming from school, I'm now I put in the time. So now I use like Fridays alone to get in those times of practice. So I spend hours Friday evening after coming from school, practice right up. So the most I will spend it wouldn't go up to 8 hours, but of course the most probably 3 hours. So I use those time. And to me, what I do, I use those times wisely and put in the time. So I tell a man, you might not get the 8 hours now. You may not get the 8 hours. Even like now, being so involved, I don't get the 8 hours. But what I do, I listen a lot. So that's another part of practicing. I listen a lot. So I'm always listening, always listening, always listening. So even while doing other things, I'm listening, I'm listening. Going to bed at night, music put us to sleep, and listen very widely. So I'm always listening. So that is why I think that when even I get a call to come and play for some guys, I will go somewhere and somebody just come from me study and say, yo, Graham, can play the song there. And when they send it like the night before, whatever. It's like it's so easy for me because I know these songs already because I've always been listening. So it's like it come like one, two. I might never play them before, but I know how the song break up. I know if dissect the song. So that don't calculate in my head. So it was easy for me. So that's one I think I recognize people can trust me that much. And that's probably what added to the names of Gramps. Because they were saying that with a guy so young, having that wealth of experience and approach, it's like it was so amazing to them that say, so you behave like you have played drum for 70 odd years. You know what I mean? So Alex Tamlin is, as I said, in the presentation the other night, was the one who gave me that name of Gramps, because of these little things that he observed. So Alex can call me at the spur of the moment and say, Dwayne, last minute, which is not a good thing. But he trust me that much that if he can call me and say, yo, learn that song, I'm gonna have that gig, I'm gonna have this tomorrow or whatever. So things like that. So it adds to that. So listening, if you don't get the time to practice, listen a lot. Listen a lot.
Cool. Who are some of the persons you have worked with over the years?
Um, I've worked with a lot of persons, from in for example, I've done stuff as way back as this group that they used to call Toda was back in the days, growing up. I think that is where I got my debut, at age 12, Toda, and that group used to travel in and around Jamaica, all over the places. They have a lot of persons probably know that group from way back, in terms of their sound, you know, that black gospel sound. And then after a while, I started to, venture out. I do a lot of weddings. Apart from that, I've been on Smile Jamaica a couple of times with different persons. You know, some of them sometimes can't remember all of them. Um, and I've done stuff for Puma. Yes, Puma, the sports brand. I've done an advertisement for them playing drums. Sometime years ago, while in high school, I've done advertisement for them. I've done um stuff for I done stuff with Gaddy Gaddy, Omari. I've done stuff with Colin Davis. I've done stuff with ah oh, it's a whole sometimes I can't remember them, to be honest. Because by the time I start I can't remember all of those persons. But it's quite a few experience I've gotten out there, to be out there and so forth. And I think one thing is that I'm more centered in the gospel arena, you know. I even done stuff with Little Hero, Little Hero and PZ, Little Hero. I done stuff with those guys through, that time I was having the opportunity to play with Dimension band, Ser Sergi and Siko, those guys. So I did stuff with those, persons, yeah man. And the list goes on.
Okay.
List goes on.
Which one of those moments or memories would you say stands out in your mind?
To be honest, um I think to be honest, one of the most I think it was the night of when I was doing the set with Gaddy Gaddy. Um I was doing that set with him, which was very good. Even that moment with Carlin Davis, um, was one of the high points too because I was called on the spur of the moment to play for her to do her set. And it's not like rehearsals were done. Um it was just on the moment, and because of listening to the songs, knowing the songs, listening to her music out there, listening widely, I was able to execute effectively on that night. So that was a blessing too. One of the high moments. Also I used to do work with Sasha, who used to sing with Sean Paul. Um, you know, that was another high moment too in terms of, going out there and doing those stuff with these persons. So it was good. Those moments were good. Seeing that COVID has come into play, things kind of went down, a bit. So, but from time to time, I've gotten calls to do recordings, to do stuff versus having tracks or having stuff coming out, EP coming out, they'll ask me to do something, so things like that. So
All
this
right.
journey is a journey.
Yeah,
It's
man.
a journey indeed. It's definitely a journey.
Right.
Jody and Punchy is also another person. As I said, I can't remember everybody. Why? Jody and Punchy, a lot of a lot, a lot of them. I've gotten the experience to do stuff.
Yeah, man. You mentioned that you are the MD at your church.
Yeah.
You want to tell us something about the band that you currently play because I have heard these guys quite quite a few times, and I was very impressed. I'm very impressed each time I hear you guys. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't want you to um, finish this interview without saying something about them.
To be honest, I must big them up to my church band, home band, guys like Pitts, Van, Ian, Mr. White, which you call Mr. Booth, used to tour a lot back in the days. He's an experienced guitar player, you know, um, and you have the likes of Waleed and some others, younger sets coming up. But those main men that I mentioned, those guys literally are something else, trust me. And the thing about it is that these are not full time musicians, let me say, but the sound that we give off is such humbling sound, and it influences and impacts a lot of people across the breadth of Jamaica who knows us. And most of the time, we find that when they listen to our music or wherever we go, especially even nowadays, we work closely with this group called Triumphant Sisters. They are also a ministry that we are working with now. Triumphant Sisters, very powerful set of women, who sings well. Um, so you find us working with them. But at church with these guys, the chemistry is what builds us, and the spirituality of these men because they mean God well. You know what I mean? So you find that we try to play for the people and for the atmosphere, for what God wants to do in the atmosphere for somebody. So we're not going to play just because we skill and we can do whatever. So we try to ensure that the sound that we have is one sound, and each person complements the other. And so what you find now, we get that effective dominant sound where it is fulfilling. When you come and listen to us, the remarks are normally fulfilling. It's like people are saying, wow. I mean, even sometimes we'll go to weddings and play persons ask us if we are really a church band because they can't believe a church band can play in a wedding setting like this. So that's how professional we try to approach our stuff. We're still not there yet, because every day we cause even right now, if you could check it right now, sometimes even for me being the MD, the band leader, sometimes I get very miserable, when it comes out to certain things, wanting things to be done and wanting that tone, wanting that exact preciseness. So I can be a very miserable, no nonsense person. It comes down to that. So at that time, I am not friends with anybody. So even if they are older, they respect me so much, and I'm younger than them. But when I talk, they understand what what I'm saying and what we need to hear, what we need to have. So that level of respect is there, and we try to bond a lot. So we not only play music, we eat food, we laugh. If we are go, we journey together. So that relationship is built. So when we come together to play, so even if we don't rehearse, just by us gelling, we know what the other person feel, we know how him feel. So we know say, yo, he bass player, him feel a vibe, yeah, him feel a way. So we know when him feel up and when him feel down. So that's a part of building the chemistry, and that sound that you hear, that you people are persons out there adore, it's coming through that. And I believe strongly that even our dedication to say that we are doing this unto God, you know, is one that tops it off too. Yeah, yeah, man.
Mhm.
But respect to those guys, trust me, respect to those guys.
Yes, being the quality drummer that you are, would you ever consider going full time in music?
I have thought about it. To be honest, I have thought about it many times. I've thought about it many times. Going full time, and I think one day it is going to, because it's also a dream, a goal, a bucket list thing to say that I want to tour for a while, and to even to be a Grammy nominated album. That's how far I put it, to do a recording for things like that. So that's how far I look at it, and to say that that is where I would love to reach. Because what I feel inside, and sometimes when I put out stuff or I do a presentation, when I play, um, it's like sometimes myself is sometimes blown away because I'm wondering if this is me, sometimes listening, and sometimes I hate listening to myself, to be honest. I hate listening to myself. But when you listen to it, sometimes you have to say, whoa, and it shows that, having that level of confidence and determination that you can do so much more. There's much more to accomplish and to do. Yeah, I've thought about doing music full time. Definitely, definitely.
All right. So if you should go full time, uh, which genre would you say that you'll be focusing on?
Which genre? To be honest, I've always said that I will stay fully committed to the genre. Well, as I say, it's not a genre, but I will say committed to doing things that are gospel related. So I will say that I will find myself more sticking to doing stuff that is gospel related. If I should do a recording or to do something for somebody, no problem. You know, no problem at all. But mostly surrounded by gospel, as I said before.
Mhm. All right. So it seems that's one of your major goals for the future.
Yes,
What
yes.
else is there for Gramps, Dwayne, Parkinson within the next couple of years?
To be honest, a good friend of mine, she shared an idea with me the other day, which I never thought about, which is to do some signature sticks, drumsticks. So that is something that I have in mind also to work on, and some signature drumsticks, and also even some merchandise, different merchandise stuff, as it relates to not just music also, but even things that spread positive messages. So those are some of the things that I'm looking at. basically. But in terms of even to do probably an EP, you know, yeah. So might never know. A lot of things are out there in store, but definitely when it comes down to the signature stick, I think that is something that I am thinking about and to see how best I can execute. You know,
Mm. All right, Dwayne, we are wrapping up, but we learned today that you are a trained guidance counselor, and I know for sure a lot of musicians are frustrated during
yeah.
time of a pandemic, because the lack of tour, lack of gigs, you
Yeah,
name it, the lack of funds.
true, true.
How would you sort of encourage some of these musicians that are facing some of these problems?
All right. To be honest, uh, this pandemic has come in such a time that no one expected because it is affecting not just musicians but every single individual right across the board. Um, but to my brothers who are out there and sisters, of course, who are out there, and I know that it is difficult. I know that it's hard during this time, but I want to encourage you that listen, just be positive as much as possible. And that is one thing that I've been telling even my students at school, just to be positive. And even friends that I come across, be positive, be positive, be positive, be positive. Being positive, I mean, if you maintain that level of positivity or that positive vibration, if you want to call it that, then you recognize that it affects everything around you in your circle. So even though things might seem like it's not what it used to be, you know, when you used to tour, be all over the place, things are going to change. I mean, that's all this life is. Nobody knows what is going to happen tomorrow. Nobody saw this coming. By the end of the day, I think what we have to do is to learn to adapt and understand that, this is going to push us now, think out of the box again. What more can we do? Because some of us, we have become so complacent and comfortable, in other words. So if we can think out of the box, what are different ways I can still impact persons? What are different ways I can still be positive influences to persons? So even things like this that you are doing now, I mean, yes, we not say everybody go and do this, but this is an avenue where you can find musicians speaking out. Why not have things like, a lot more time where musicians can come together and build that band, share knowledge, share with other youngsters. What about going into communities that less fortunate youths who don't have a skill and probably love music, but they just want that one little encouragement. But they see one of these big touring musicians comes in and say, boy, hey, you know, you can do this. I teach them something. One thing for me, I think I enjoy is sharing my knowledge. It's not big. Yeah, as I said, I've never been to Edna. I've never been to any of these institutions to learn drums. This was just pure self-taught, God-given talent. What I do, I try to do, I influence a lot. I ensure that if you are not impacting your environment, then something is wrong with you. So even if a man is out there touring down the world or whatever, and you are doing that, that is, you are touching a lot of persons' life. But what about persons back home in your space, in your own little space? How impacting have you been to them? You understand? Sharing with a little baby, a little boy. It moves my heart when I see sometimes we can share these things and share. And the more you share is the more you recognize that if your knowledge will increase, the more you share your bits of knowledge to somebody. So, have clinics, have some more. One thing I love to see happen in Jamaica where we start to develop the art of clinics that even the overseas persons develop. Have some clinics. I used to do one, I did one some time ago with Mikey Kennedy, at our church. I was privileged to be called to be a part of that clinic, to share my drum expertise with the great Mikey Kennedy. You know what I mean? And we build a band, we build a network right here and all that. So I'm saying that if we can find ways in which we can do these things, do clinics, go around and share the information. And trust me, it will make room for us, I believe strongly. To me. But my advice is that be positive as much as possible. Laugh a lot, which I know many of us as musicians love to laugh, but just be positive. Entertain that positive energy. and start to entertain persons around you that are more positive. Have people in your life, man, we can share, can show stuff in your life, can empower you and build you. You understand? Not just to say, yo, and praise you and say, yeah, man, you're the hardest thing and you're OG and you're real greatest of all times, you're real good or whatever. You know what I mean? And you're not, nah, man, no. You need somebody who can sow into your life and speak into your life. You know, be resourceful that way. That mentally you are able to be stronger. 'Cause a lot of musicians out there, you know, as much as you see them touring down the place, they are not happy, you know. No, Chris. They're not happy.
Um,
They, some sad fellows, them must struggle with a lot of things. So having that place where they can find support system to share, I believe as musicians, to some of us, we can be more supportive of each other. You know, share stuff, be there for each other where you can share. You can say, boy, you know, Chris, you know, Gramps, you know, say whatever, and share stuff. Be supportive to each other, you know, and be our brothers keeper. And that can do a whole lot of work, you know, in terms of impacting our circle.
yes. So what if a musician wants to reach out to you? How can you be reached?
All right, definitely. They could contact you, of course, Sir Chris. Um, or they can follow me on Instagram, which is Grams Drums, right? Grams Drums on IG. You can follow me, and you can DM me. You can shoot me a message or whatever, you know. And if you just want to just talk, you know, just whatever, I will try my very best to find time to, you know, just reason and talk.